Welcome to Sports Betting Podcast from pregame.com for November 12th, 2009. I'm your host, RJ Bell. I'm joined by Marco D'Angelo, 30 years in the business, Vegas runner, genuine professional bettor here in Vegas. This is segment 1 of 6, big game preview, college football, South Carolina, Florida. You know, it's funny, Marco, when I do that 30 years in the business, my best buddy back in Kansas has been watching these videos, and he says he looks at it as me cracking on your age every time. I'm just trying to establish you as the experience.
Yeah, that's how I took it.
There's two ways to look at it.
Well, we'll see.
All right, Vegas runner, as always, give us the line report on this game.
All right. Florida opened up as a 15-point road favorite with a total of 42. As of this morning, Florida is 15.5 with a total of 43. So a very small amount of money coming in on the favorite.
Okay, so one of the things we always talk about is how do we decipher the line moves? And what we believe is if they bet against the public team, it's very likely legitimate, that they have a real interest in the side they're betting. And if they bet on the public team, maybe not. It could be real interest, or it could be trying to get ahead of a move they see happening with the public later, and then they buy back.
Right.
So I don't know if we can take this half-point move as serious, or is it getting ahead of the potential late steam on Florida? Is that how you see it?
Yeah, but I think because of where the number is in South Carolina being 5-0 at home and a 6-4 team, books are going to get pretty balanced action on this game. So I don't see this line getting to like 17. I don't think they're going to be able to create a middle on this game.
All right. So Marco, from the handicapping perspective, what is the one factor that really jumps out at you here?
South Carolina offense has had trouble scoring this year. You know, Steve Spurrier, you always think of offense when you think of Spurrier. This South Carolina team is not. They've had 16 or less points in 4 straight games now.
98th in the country in scoring.
That's the big problem here for this game for me, looking at South Carolina. Can they score enough points to hang with Florida?
And with the bad offense, your backdoor possibilities, whenever you're getting a lot of points from a potent offense, you can have 2 late scores even at the end of the game.
Exactly.
And if you have, you remember Miami at different times this year in the NFL, when Miami's been behind and they have to throw, it's just like, oh my God.
Trouble.
It's trouble, and you rarely see a backdoor cover with a team like Miami, though they usually play very tough, so they're good underdogs. So that's kind of the catch-22. All right, so what do you see handicapping-wise as the primary factor in this game?
Okay, straight off the bat, my lean's to Florida. That's the only side I could see back in this game. One reason only. When I looked back at the last 2 times they played, Florida was able to do whatever they wanted to this team.
Last 2 against South Carolina.
Yeah,
okay.
they had over 500 total yards. They rushed the ball over 40 times. So they were able to do whatever they wanted, and they blew this team away. You look at the stats this year, Florida is 8th in rushing in the NCAA, and South Carolina, although they're considered a good defensive team, they're 64th against the rush. So they've done nothing to change what happened to them against Florida the last 2 times they played them. They beat them by 20 and 30, 30 the first time or something, 50 last year. I see nothing done to change that.
Now, so when I look at a game, I usually will say, okay, who's the public team, and are they an extremely public team? And I'm looking the other way. It's very rare I'm going to bet the Cowboys. It's very rare I'm going to bet the Steelers, 2 very public teams in the NFL. To me, Florida is amongst the top handful of public teams. So right away, you got to figure you're paying a half point or a point premium.
Sure.
So, Marco, as you look at this game, is there anything that recommends South Carolina to you?
Well, if you want to start with the revenge factor, I mean, they were embarrassed last year, 56-6, so definitely circled on their schedule. Rather than looking
now,
at...
let me ask you a question. This is interesting, because I never thought of it. This is a first-time thought I'm having right now.
It's your first thought?
Well, that's the... No. Let's just say no to that. It seems like there's 2 ways to look at something. Like, remember back when you were in high school and you would play athletics, whatever it was, if you played someone that you thought you could beat, then if you lost, you were like, I want to get back in there, play another game of one-on-one or whatever, high school football, whatever. But if it's someone that beat the heck out of you, right, and you left, and next day you were sore, you probably weren't so quick to want to get back. To want revenge.
They hung 50 on them back-to-back years.
So my question is this Florida team so good that teams that lose by 50 aren't necessarily.
Can't wait to get at him again.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's like Rocky Balboa maybe wanted to get back into Mr. T. And
but
Rocky
after a beatdown like that, I don't know how fast I'd want to beat the bully
and
again.
Let's be honest. Let's think about this on a big picture handicapping sense. Is revenge less of a factor if there's total domination?
Right.
Everybody, you got to go to everybody's personality. Me personally, the more somebody beats me up or says I can't do something, that's when I'm the most motivated.
What do you think of Spurrier? Spurrier, could he get his team motivated?
Spurrier's probably the guy that's embarrassed the most. I mean, Florida was his school. He's the one that built Florida.
Yeah.
And, he's got slapped around. The one thing, the revenge, it's a motivator, but like you said, is it a final answer? No. You have to have some reasons to back it. There are some reasons here that you can consider South Carolina. The defense, 9 of 10 games this year, although they are poor against the rush, they have held their opponent to 360 total yards or less in 9 of 10 games.
19th in college football in yardage allowed,
That's going to shorten a ball game. And if Florida's running the ball, where that's the one weakness to South Carolina, you shorten the game. If you can, that's got to be, if I'm coaching the game, my game plan is against Florida, I want to shorten the game. You want to limit the possessions that Florida has.
15 is a lot of points.
15 is a lot of points, but you might want to look also the way South Carolina has trouble scoring themselves. Maybe the total's the way to go here and look at the under.
Now, one of the things I've been thinking about even more this year is profiling teams, as in, Belichick, and I read a good bit about Belichick, and we're talking a lot of NFL here, is he likes to put the other team in a situation they're not comfortable. He wants a passing team to be running, a running team to be throwing. And to me, I think that applies with teams in general, and we're going to be previewing the High State game, and I think it's applicable there, is this Florida team is in a comfortable situation for them, which is a road favorite. They are, and they're actually 11-1. Go ahead, VR.
I got the same thing on the road,
So this is a road team that they play well on the road, and they're not afraid to run up a score. So to me, and I'll just do a little tease on High State is not inclined to run up scores unless they really can dominate a team, and they're laying a big number. So to me, this is a great contrast between a Florida team that loves to play on the road. You're always afraid of road favorites. This Florida team, maybe you shouldn't be afraid of a road favorite because they play so well on the road, and they're not afraid to run it up. And conversely, we'll be talking to High State maybe not being in that category. So that makes me not necessarily want to play South Carolina, which brings up a good point, is if you or I gave an opinion on every game, a strong opinion, then we'd be foolish, because the only time you have an opinion on a game is when the lines maker is wrong. And so really, let's say 3 points is what's required for the lines maker to be wrong in football. That means the line should either be 12.5, and if so, we like Florida, or it should be 18.5. And if so, if it's 12.5, thank you. If it's 12.5, we'd like South Carolina. If it should be 18.5,
you lay Florida.
We lay Florida. I'm not sure in this case if either of those would be cracked, which means, there's some factors to consider, and maybe you out there in TV land are maybe saying, well, because of what Marco said, in addition to something else I believe, that now makes it where it should be 18.5.
Yeah.
And if so, great. But I don't see any of us here thinking the line's that far off.
No, and the line over the summer, the future line on this game was 16. So it's close. It's not far off from where it should be. There's not going to be much value on this game.
All right, good stuff, good conversation. All right, next up is going to be segment 2, and we're going to be previewing another big college game, Ohio State, Iowa. And remember, you can watch all of our videos at pregame.tv, or you can download and listen at iTunes. Just search for pregame.com.